Hi, everyone. My name is Ella, and I was a CS major in the class of 2019, so just a few years ago. Yasser asked me to share some words of wisdom about Intro to CS specifically and about the major more broadly. So I have two pieces of advice for you with regards to intro. The first is to focus on your own work in progress and not get too bogged down or influenced by the other students in the class and what pace they're going at. With CS in particular, a lot of students come into the class with prior programming experience, so they'll move at a pace that's twice as fast, 3 times as fast as yours. But you have to remember that that doesn't mean you're bad at programming. It doesn't mean that they're better at you than programming. It just means that they got a head start. The curriculum is designed for students who have zero prior skills, so embrace that, focus on your own progress, and have fun with it. I'd also like to note that for whatever reason, the students who have that head start are typically male. In my experience, once I got into the higher level courses, the number of females in my class dropped dramatically. And because so many of the men had that head start, I definitely had moments where I felt like I couldn't do it. I had moments where I felt alone, where I felt like I would never be as good, so why bother trying at all? And I want to tell you that those are very valid feelings. It's never fun to feel behind. So let yourself feel them, but don't let them hold you back. You are just as capable, you are just as deserving, and you most definitely can do it. If I did it, you can. That being said, my second piece of advice is that if you do hit a wall, don't be afraid to ask for help. I personally was never really one who liked to ask for help because it felt like an admission of failure. But in intro and especially in the high level courses, you can't be worried about that. It's not about whether you can do it entirely on your own. It's about whether you can get it done and whether you're learning. At one point, someone told me that with programming, if you're stuck on the same thing for 2 hours, then you're never going to get it. And that's when you go ask for help. You go to your professor, you go to your TA, you go to the students in the Unix lab, but you make sure you ask for help. Sometimes all you'll need is to get over a little bump in the road and you're going to get back on track. Sometimes you're going to need to sit with someone for hours to figure out what you're doing, what you're supposed to be doing, and how to do it. And both of those are okay. That's what the resources are there for. That being said, don't overdo it. I do think it's important to spend time struggling on your own, but keep that 2-hour mark in mind. And when you hit a wall, go get help. In terms of CS more broadly, I actually ended up graduating and applying for a lot of software engineering positions and doing a lot of programming interviews. But after 2 to 3 months, I finally decided that while I loved the CS classes in Abu Dhabi, I didn't actually want to be a programmer as a career. So I took a 180 and I ended up applying for law school. But I did capitalize on my CS degree and STEM background, which is rare in the legal field. And it got me into a good school. It got me scholarship money and it got me my first summer job where I'm working at an intellectual property law firm doing mostly legal work, but also dealing with software patents and reading a lot of pseudocode that I never would have been able to understand without my CS background. All of that to say that if you want to be a CS major, you can be. You don't have to be good on day one. You don't even have to be good on day 1000. You just have to keep at it. Don't get discouraged if you feel slower than the people around you. You might get better and feel just as good, or like I did, you might always feel slower. But after 4 years, when you graduate, you will all have the exact same degree and you'll have the exact same opportunities available to you. So work hard, but keep that long-term goal in mind. I gave Yasser my contact info to share with you if anyone wants to follow up with questions, to talk about CS, about being a woman in CS, or about my journey after graduation. I'd be happy to share. So have fun with this class. Hopefully you like it as much as I did.